Okay, so welcome to the show. Welcome to my Pick a Topic with Sam and Guest show. We have some brilliant guests tonight. Just to let you know, I have someone manning the Facebook chat and I have someone manning the YouTube live chat. You can go on my page and you can see the link for YouTube live if you prefer to be on there. If you want to actually come on here and voice your opinions, respectfully, feel free. Just let someone know, whoever's manning which one, that you would like to be on here, and we will give you the link. It's simple. You can come on here for a moment, say your say, and then you can come back, well, be put back to where you were, to YouTube or Facebook. But we are going to get to the point now, and we're going to start getting our guests to introduce themselves. Let's see who we have first. I believe the first people that we have will be Julie and Herbie. Would you please start your videos and unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Well, I would. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your video is off. So could you start your video, please?
I've been sending messages to the chat room to say exactly that, and I've been blanked.
Okay.
But hello, everyone. If you can see me, it doesn't matter.
Once
if I can't see you, I can feel you.
1 second, Julie. 1 second, Julie. 1 second. Can we go to Lindsay and Claudette until you've worked out how to do that for me, please?
Okay.
Hello.
Go for it.
Hello, my name is Claudette Wesker. I am a singer-songwriter, amongst other things. And
hello, my name is Lindsay Wesker. I am a writer. I've just self-published my third novel on Amazon. I have a weekly radio show on My Soul, Saturday at 1 o'clock, but it's Saturday at midnight this Saturday. I've been in the music industry since 1981. I've worked at 5 different record companies. I worked at Kiss FM for 8 years. I worked at MTV for 19 years. And I love Samantha Scott.
So do I.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, let's see if we can get back to Julie and Herbie. Julie? Hello, Julie. Okay, let's see if we can go to John and Amanda. You need to unmute yourselves.
Hi there, you're
Hi,
right.
guys.
Hi, we're John,
And I'm Amanda.
Yeah, we're business owners, basically club owners. And yeah, we
Entrepreneurs
really doing quite a lot of things. But we're here to talk today about the our Exodus project, which is a repatriation project.
Yeah.
And yeah, interested to hear the kind of comments that may come back. And yeah, I hate you, Samantha, and that's what I say.
No, we love Samantha too.
Okay, I think we've now got Julie. Thanks, guys. I love you all too. I think we are now, we've got Julie, I think. There we go. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
I can, but now we can't see you.
Okay. Well, if you can hear me, then that'll do. Let me just see. Can you see me now?
Yep.
Great stuff.
Can you see me? Good evening, everyone. I'm Jules. Herbie's here, but he's just got in from work, so give him a minute, having his dinner and whatnot. I am a lockdown housewife. Yeah, since lockdown happened, I've become an expert gardener and DIYer. And here I am to give my honest opinion on current affairs. Black Lives Matter.
Nice one, Julie. Okay, and have we had Ruth? Have we had you, Ruth?
No, you haven't. Hi, everybody. My name is Ruth. I've known Samantha for a very long time. I work in IP in the IP industry, and I'm here to provide balance. I'm more of I go to listen to people speak on Black matters and Black history and just the well-being of Black people, rather than actually presenting. But as I said, I'm here to provide balance, and I will give honest opinions. I'll shut up when I don't know what the subject's about, and I will speak when I have something to say.
Love that, Ruth. Okay, I believe that the last person, but not least, that we have is Robin. Robin, please, when you introduce yourself, please talk a bit about your business. And John and Amanda, I'm going to come back to you to ask you to talk more about your business as well. Let's go, Robin.
Greetings, my name's Robin Walker. I'm known professionally as the Black History Man. What I do for a living is I'm an adult education lecturer. I'm an author. I write books mostly to do with Black heritage, things to do with history, Black people in the history of science and technology, Black people in the history of religion. I also write educational books. My day job, if I have one, is working for an education charity called Croydon Supplementary Education Project. Among other things, we run a Saturday school. I also partner with other businesses such as Avril's Walks and Talks. We have a Zoom course coming up on Black history, the 1948 to now period, also as the Windrush history, which is quite a powerful history. And I partner with other organizations such as A Tribe Called Progress. We run a program also on Zoom called Black Studies in the City. So my name is Robin Walker. The title is The Black History Man. And so that's me.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Robin. John and Amanda, would you talk a bit more about your Exodus project, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's a project that we've wanted to do for quite some time. And it's basically a repatriation project. What we found is that a lot of Black people in the diaspora would love to go back to Africa, but they don't know the steps or have the means to do it. And it's just a big, difficult process. So what we've come up with is a way in which we can move a lot of our people back to the motherland, which is where we should be, in a way that it makes it a lot easier. We do all the hard work, and it's affordable also.
Yeah, for me, it's more of an exodus. we aim to ship a lot of people out there, you know, and give them a way forward of how they can actually meet their living costs out there and make business out there quite simply. So, you know, we find a lot of people try to do it, you know, alone or in very, very small communities, which is just virtually impossible, to say the least. In some cases, a lot of people end up coming back to the West because of that. But if we move out there, you know, in the thousands, you know, it makes things a lot easier, and we have a direct way of how we can achieve this. And yeah, just love to hear basically some opinions back on it once we're going through it. I'm not sure if this section, Samantha, do we talk longer on this section or just to come back to us? I'm not quite sure.
Oh, this is the section where you're speaking to everyone about your business.
Okay,
so
cool.
Take as long as you need.
Excellent. So how it works basically, we're doing it on a basis where, first of all, we've linked it with a social networking site. It's called Exodus.homes. Once you go on there, you'll be able to choose from 14 different countries where you can repatriate back to, not just fully repatriation if you don't wish, but maybe just like own a holiday home there, something you maybe spend a few months a year there and rent it out for the rest of the year, which can earn you income as well. We're building the whole town basically around a theme park, which we like to call Ebony Land. And basically that is in order to attract more, let's say, international business coming in, tourism and so forth, which will obviously, power the land economically, as well as just the monies that people are paying to purchase a home. So
how we've done it is we've broken it down. So most people, when they repatriate, they would go and source a piece of land, which in itself is an absolute minefield if you don't know the country that you're going to in Africa if you don't know because it's not just about the legal side, it's the traditional side of how things are done also. So we've streamlined that down. So basically what we've done is we're creating a community from before you even get there. So as John said, there's a social networking element to it. So you sign up to our site, choose one of the 14 countries that we have in Africa. And then within those groups, everybody else that would like to go there, you could be talking to them all along the time, as long as it takes for us to get to what our magic number is minimum 5,000 people to join one of the particular groups. Once they've done that, and it's all free at that point, it's nothing to pay, but it gives you a chance to, you know, share ideas with people. Once we get to that point, then we would say, great, we've hit the point, let's go and take a look at what's out in whichever country it is, Ghana, Nigeria, wherever.
So at that point, we will require everyone in that particular group to start paying $5 a month, which take care of all the travel costs. Sorry? Yeah, which takes care of all the travel costs. It take care of all our expenses, basically, to source the land, speak to government officials, you know, site viewings and so forth. Once we actually draw up basic plans once we see a particular plot of land that we want, bird's eye view plans, basically. Once that's done and we've negotiated the deal, the price and so forth for the land, we will get back to everybody and say, well, this is the land we propose, this is what we're going to be doing, here's your basic plans that we can show you. At that stage, we require everyone to pay a fee of £2,500 to buy their plot of land within the land that we've purchased. And then from there, basically, we will give them title deeds for the land, say that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just 1 second. Sorry, John and Amanda, you've run out of time. But do you know
time.
what?
Yeah.
I have got you along with other people at the end of it, where you are. Yeah, where you are advertised. So people
talking about as well. So it's cool. No problem.
Yeah. Thank you. So people know where to go and find you. You are exodus.com. That is on the end.
Exodus.homes.
Sorry?
Exodus.homes.
Exodus.homes. I've advertised it wrong, so I'm going to have to change that at some point, and I will. Don't worry, my bad. Okay, but for now, we do need to get into the topic, guys. And the topic is before slavery happened to us, there were the Moors. And why is our story not being taught in history at schools? Now, I found something online which I want to play right now, and I'm not sure if it's absolutely accurate or not, but I'm sure that the experts that are on here today will let me know. The whole point of doing this is so that we are all enlightened. So let's see. Can you hear this by any chance?
No.
No.
Okay. It's funny, you know, things work fine when you test it and then they tend not to. I'm going to stop it right there and I'm going to move straight away to Robin, and I'm going to ask you, Robin, the question of, could you please unmute yourself? I'm going to ask you the question of, who were the Moors? First of all, let's find out, who were the Moors?
That's a complicated question. The term Moor has two meanings. One meaning is a general term for Black people. So Black people who were in Europe in medieval times and Renaissance times, any Black person, me, you, if we were there 500 years ago, we would have been called Moors. So when Shakespeare wrote Othello and put a Black character in it, he was called a Moor. So it's a general term for Black people. Then you've got the second meaning, which is probably the meaning you mean, which is to refer to a specific group of people in Northwest Africa that entered Spain and Portugal somewhere around the year 710 AD and were ruling on and off right up until 1492. That's what people call the Moors in Spain. Those people were indigenous North Africans. Now, why it's complicated is North Africa today isn't the same as North Africa was hundreds of years ago. So when people go to North Africa, and I went to Africa, and where the Africans at? North Africa isn't African anymore, it's Arab. And that's what confuses people over who the Moors were. Were the Moors Arabs or were they indigenous Africans? Then you've got another complicating factor. There are people in Morocco and some of those North African countries who call themselves Moors, but to all practical intents and purposes, they look white. And that confuses the picture as well. So the Moors that ruled in Spain between 710 and 1492, they were mostly black, but there was a large non-black component that would be represented by the non-black Moroccans. Some of them were in that mix as well, you see. So it has two meanings, either general term for black people or the rulers of Spain and Portugal on and off between 710 and 1492.
Excellent. Wow. Okay. And can I quickly go to John and Amanda on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm asking you the same question because it's sort of like a each one teach one, and then
Yeah,
we're going to
well,
go into the we're going to go into the part of it after that as to why it's not
yeah,
being taught in our schools.
because with our studies, I mean, when I was studying basically that issue hard, I went back to ancient Sumeria. That's where I started so-called Black history, and obviously coming up to date. But I think, Robin, what the problem I have with, just to come to point a little bit, what the problem I have with is this, Robin. I've spoken to a lot of people that know quite a bit about their history, and different types. Yeah, it varies. Sometimes you get a bit of misinformation. We try to exaggerate it a little bit, but generally we all got the same idea. But when I ask these people, who's your local councillor? They can't tell me. Who's your local MP? They can't tell me. And we find that a lot of us, we've got a lot of information that's relevant to what happened and what's happened, in the past. But if we don't know the up-to-date information about what's happening around in our own communities and know the people we can go to help us to achieve things now, it means nothing. So we've got a lot of wise people out there that knows a lot of things about the past. They can tell me what Pharaoh done, what in what year and what time. But when I say a simple question like who's your local MP, they can't tell me. And that's what we find a real problem with, and I think we need a balance. We need to know the history, but we also need to know what's going on today. Because from my history that I've studied, I don't know, you might be able to correct me with this, but the first queen of this country, was Queen Sophia Charlotte, which was a black woman and was a Moor. That's why you have places like Moorgate. And we know that round about the period you spoke about, they start to whitewash a lot of the information when it was actually black people here. I think the Romans reported seeing nimble-footed black people when they first arrived in the UK, showing that we weren't just in North Africa, we were here in the UK, and then the Romans came on top of us. Now that might differ with what other books say, but they say he who wins the war writes the history. So it's very hard to know exactly what's happening. But I'm really concerned with the lack of information people know about today and what's going on today to help them today. So what do you think, Robin?
Yeah, let me come back at that. There is a course that me and my colleague, Avrams Walks and Talks, are going to be doing about Black British history from 1948 till now. So
around the Windrush kind of time. Yeah.
That will address that. And you're right. I mean, there are a lot of things that people don't know today. If I was to ask people, who's Vaughan Gething and why he's important, can I get a show of hands who knows who's Vaughan Gething is? No one knows. Okay, Vaughan Gething.
I know the name, but yeah.
Okay, he's a black man in Wales who is the number 2 in Wales. Wales has got a first minister. And when the first minister was absent, he was the one that conducted first minister's questions, the equivalent of prime minister's questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
A black man did that last year, conducted the Welsh First Minister's questions. Did we know this? Well, everyone's telling me, Robin, you're stuck in the past. I'm telling you what's happening now. Did we know this?
No. I certainly can say for one, I've never heard of him. I didn't know that. And John, you do make a valid point of people not knowing what's going on in the current affairs today, much less way back when. But I am going to sort of jump a little bit to bring in other people now as well. Not that I'm moving on from what you're saying. We can come back to it.
Yeah.
But I just want to quickly ask Julie, because Julie used to work in schools, and then I'm going to ask Claudette, because Claudette used to work in schools. Why do you think it is that our history, Julie, is not being taught in history in schools today? Why
I
do you
think
think they've not talked about the Moors, for instance?
I think it's just down to trying to give us a certain amount of information, but not all the information. If we knew everything, if we knew it all, then we would be the majority and not the minority as we are perceived to be. I think my experience in 15 years of secondary school, the history that was taught was very synthetic. And I think the only time they touched on Black history was during Black History Month, when some of the students would, come to me or go to the teachers and say, oh, we want to celebrate Black history. And that was the only time I would say to them, go off and research and go to Google and check out your creators, your kings and queens, your civil rights fighters, as well as the sports heroes and the singers. We know all of them. And to be honest with you, Sam, I think for those of you, if you've ever had the pleasure and the privilege of seeing a show called Black Heroes in the Hall of Fame, that is where, as a participant of that show, that is where I gained a lot of knowledge about my ancestors, my Black ancestors. We've been around for years and we've contributed to this world in more ways than you'll ever know. And they just do not teach that in the schools. I think in the history that they have on the curriculum, we're kind of steered to thinking in a certain way, and to think that that we are the minority, and we really are not. We really are not. So before you can change people's attitudes, it's almost, no, before you teach the history, you need to change people's attitudes about Black people and where we come from. We're not the underdogs by no certain means. We are not the underdogs. We've been around for years.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna, just so that you're aware, Julie, your camera froze for all of that. It would have been nice to be able to see you. So let's just quickly check your Wi-Fi and see what's going on. Claudette, you used to work in schools, and then I'm going to come to you, Lindsay, because I know you're mentoring at the moment as well. But I'm asking you the same question, Claudette.
I think it's going to sound awful, but I think that we're not taught our history to keep us down. I think we're I don't know if it's I think it's a conscious thing. Like you say, I taught at college levels, and we only did Black history in Black History Month, as Jules said, and I really think that it's a conscious effort at a much higher level to keep us down, and to make us appreciate everybody else more than ourselves. Keep us, as Jules says, to keep us as the underdogs, and to not realize what we have contributed as a people to the world. I'm Jamaican descent and I love Bob Marley, but Black people have contributed more than reggae,
Mm.
you know, and that's all they're comfortable with allowing us to see and allowing our children to see. Very quickly, when I was in school, we had a white South African teacher come to teach us history, and she was the first one to say, well, this is appalling. A white South African teacher said it was appalling that the children of color were not being taught history that is relevant to us, which would uplift us.
Mm.
You know, and she
Okay.
actually left saying, you know, she didn't feel comfortable with having to stick to the curriculum that she was given to teach. And that's when I was in school, and I'm years old, and it's appalling that things still haven't changed.
Okay, Lindsay, I'm going to ask you the same question. You're mentoring at the moment, so you're right in the thick of it.
Yeah, I'm teaching at a music industry school, and I was teaching a course a couple of months ago about the history of music genres, and I had a Brazilian girl in the class, and I had a Chinese girl in the class, and they said to me, "This is not my history." Both of them said, "Love the class, very interesting, but this is not my history." And of course, the history of music genres in China is going to be completely different, and the history of music genres in Brazil is going to be completely different. So it's like I felt a bit embarrassed, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, curriculums are created by academics, and not all academics know everything. You know, not all academics know everything, and I think there's a general level of ignorance amongst English academics. I just don't think they have the complete picture, and I think that's the same across all subject matter. It's the same across history. I think it's the same across economics. You know, they don't have the complete picture, and every academic has an agenda and an opinion. So, you know, dependent on what teacher you've got, dependent on what book you read, you get a completely different perspective.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna go to Ruth.
Hi. I would say.
Sorry, Ruth, you're gonna need to unmute yourself, my dear.
All right. I would say, on the topic of why the history of Black people, it's not even Black. I mean, when we say Black history, it makes me feel of like it's something small, where it's really the history of the world, or every great thing that has happened in the world has come from us, even if it's not recognized. I think that one of the reasons for not teaching it is so if it's a defense mechanism, because if we don't know our history, we will not rise up, and it's not rising up to attack anybody, but I just think it's a defense mechanism for white supremacy. And there are so few of them, and they do not breed as much. So if they take their hand off that lever that is pushing out all the history and making them great and being in control of the world, because that's exactly what it is. They control the world. I just think that they would disappear, or their fear is that they would disappear. And I actually believe that they would. It is when people start to do more and become more and believe in themselves and do better. And I think half of the problem that we face now is that we as a people do not recognize how great we are. We think we are less than, and that's not by accident. That is not by accident. And I think that if we I think that feeling less than and the underdogs, or whatever you want to call it, it restricts the way that our lives, I'm trying to think of the word, how long we live anyway. That's what I'm trying to say. And whether it's stress, anxiety, what we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So in the schools, there is a very definite reason for not teaching about Black history. It's so that white people stay on top. Because if everybody was to learn the fallacy, then it would. I can just imagine if we rose up, then what? Then the only thing is, if somebody goes to the top, somebody must go to the bottom, and that's a big fear. And
Ruth, I'm literally going to interrupt you because someone on Facebook is agreeing with you. Rex Mason has just said, thank you. In fact, Black history is world history. Okay. And also Shorty Eve Brims, she's saying the reason is because she feels that it's to keep us down. They don't want us to know. And Rex also says our history actually brings us closer together, which should be a positive, but not everyone thinks that. I just want to quickly say a quick hello to a few people on here. So we've got Lewis Mastermind, Ben, we've got Di Green Eyes, we've got Beverly Brown, we've got Colette Morris, Shorty Eve Brims, Matt Lightbourne. Hi, Matt, all the way from New Zealand, good friend of mine. Cassandra Williams, we've got Trevor Campbell, and Colette Morris. I do like to say hello to everybody because I want everyone to feel included at the end of the day. And it is an interactive chat show. Now, here we've got someone else saying, Beverly Brown, oh, this is a long one. I am not a teacher, but as a Black pupil in a British school, our history lessons were tailored and designed to teach us a very specific curriculum that included Greece, Italy, the Netherlands, and of course, England. The closest we got to learning about our Black history is being taught in reference to slavery, that John Brown was our saviour. We were told about Florence Nightingale, but not Mary Seacole. And of course, now I understand why. Hi, Patrick, by the way. Listen, we have got, by the way, sorry, Lindsay, do we have anyone on YouTube live who is interacting at the moment? Oh, you're unmuted, aren't you?
Not yet, Sam.
Okay, no, not to worry. Don't worry. It's not a problem. I actually want to bring on Kareem Africology Jamal. So, I apologize for him being a bit late, but he left another meeting and came straight to mine, which I'm really, really grateful for. Thank you very much, Kareem. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself? And if you want to quickly talk a bit on who the Moors were and why you think then our history is not being taught in schools.
Let me do it the other way around. Good evening, by the way, everyone.
No problem.
As Sam was saying, I flew from another meeting very quickly to get here. Not literally flying, but you know what I mean. Yeah, Black history is not taught in schools specifically, but the last lady was saying, is it Ruth? And it's not an accident, absolutely. And then logically thinking, if we're thinking logically, why would the imperialist nation that put you in the situation you're in now then give you information that would liberate you? Doesn't make any sense. So the expectation of them doing that for us is illogical if we're thinking correctly. That's why, you know, I teach Africology. I don't call it Black history or Black studies because I think that compartmentalizes it too much, because our history is world history. And I like that statement because it's one I always tell my students, that our history is world history. You know, it touches every corner of the earth. And, you know, the Moors, well, that's a great question. I mean, depends on where you want to pick up the Moors story from. But if it wasn't for the Moors, Europe would have taken a long time to come out of there, what we call it the Dark Ages, because the Moors brought civilization to Europe after the Romans left Britain and left Europe, and the empire was crumbling in the 5th century. You know, Britain became a place, and Europe became a place. Mainland Europe became a place where, you know, these guys were living in barns, sleeping on hay, unwashed, unkempt. You know, it was only exposure when they started going and doing the Crusades that they then came across things like perfume, soap, you know, and knew the idea of the benefits of hygiene, personal hygiene. But it was the Moors that created the first university in Europe in the 7th century, in the 780s, in Salamanca, in Spain. This was the first establishment, educational establishment of that nature in Europe. The Moors brought so much to Europe. But even before that, I mean, the Moors throughout history have been, you'll know them by different names. That's another thing I want to make. We may know Moors, but what else were Moors called? And I think sometimes identity gets lost in the modern names that we're given, or they're being given. So you'll see Moors as Garamantes, you'll see Moors as Pelasgians in Greece, you'll see them in Italy before any Italians came to mainland Italy. You'll see them in Greece before there were any such thing as Greece. And another fallacy we have is there's no such thing as ancient Greece. Greece, as we know it, we're talking about 500 BC. Homer didn't write his Iliad until the 5th century BC. Herodotus was right in the 420s. This is the birth of Greece in the 400 BC. That's nothing. That's late. These are Johnny-come-latelys. So I think you know, when we need to challenge these kind of well-held and well-established norms about ancient Greece civilizing the world. And since the West is in love with everything Greek and Roman, and is built on that, you know, we need to like tear that framework down, because the Greeks themselves will tell you that they love everything Ethiopian. They worship the Ethiopians. They said they were the most pious people on earth, and the gods dined with them. You know, things like that. So, you know, you're right. People need to take it in their way. There's nothing to stop you from studying, nothing to stop you from learning your history. This is not the old days. You can go on any internet site and buy any book you want. They're all there. They're available. And there are people like myself, you know, they're teaching, you know, schools. I teach Africology, and yeah, I have something I actually have to share with you, actually, Sam, later on, but we're waiting until the end.
Okay, thank you very much, Kareem. I want to now sort of open up the floor, as it were, for discussion, in the sense of I'm going to ask everybody to unmute their mics. Try not to talk over everyone, but we're going to actually have a discussion now.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
a few things I heard I'd like to come back on about that.
Yeah, please.
I mean, I wrote down a few notes as people are talking. Look, white people being on top is nothing, black people being on the bottom is nothing to do that they don't know their history. It's nothing to do with that. White people don't know their history either. In fact, very few people know their history full stop. It's nothing to do with that. Yeah, I think it's more to do with attitudes and how we position ourselves and what kind of deals we make. They better deal makers than us. I mean, they would go to our country, take a whole massive piece of land, and we'd give it to them for pennies. Try and buy land in England for that price. Yeah, try and buy it for that price. It's a simple thing. It's economics. You don't undersell your stuff. If Africa can hold the whole world to ransom. If France, England, Germany, everybody was to drop tomorrow, it would just be another day for Africa. But if Africa was to fall tomorrow, all these other countries I just mentioned will fall simultaneously. Yeah.
Why? Why?
Because we have all the resources. We have everything there. Yeah. There's nothing we need. Even mobile phones wouldn't be, the technology wouldn't be there anymore, because you need a certain metal from that comes only from Congo. You know what I mean? So I mean, you know, we need to know our history, yes, but we can't be thinking that's the most important thing to get us back on top. We can't be sitting around thinking to ourselves, okay, if we know what Pharaoh did what and what Moore did what and what time, blah, blah, now that's going to give me a better job, or that's going to make me be able to be more entrepreneurial. We have to know what's going on today. The reason why the Moors were on top, because they dealt with what was happening in their time in that day. They weren't looking back in the past and looking back on the glory days. We have to make the history now. Now we're making history. Shows like this is making history. Do you
Can
know what
I
I mean?
interrupt, John? Can
Yeah,
I
sure.
interrupt? And can I say maybe the reason why the importance of learning the history is because how would I say this? It's you know that saying where you would say you need to look back in order to be able to go forward,
I
in the
understand.
sense of yeah,
I understand
and
that, but okay, can I come back into on one thing on that? Yeah. What I
Mhm.
realize is this: we're talking about coming here and going to white schools, and they're supposed to teach us our history. Even our parents didn't teach us our history. They'd rather teach you about Jesus before they taught you about history. When I was telling my mother and father about where these things happened in the Bible, what part of the world, they didn't want to know. All they want to know is that Jesus loves them, and that was it. I had to go to Rastafarians and people who were digging out, and people like even Robin, who took their time out to go themselves to find out the information, to spread it. My parents weren't telling me nothing, and that's the problem with a lot of the people who came from Jamaica originally. They didn't know nothing about the history, and they didn't bother.
Exactly my point,
They
and
tell you
that is
about
why.
Jesus and what will happen in heaven, but they won't tell you about your history. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's not important to know your history. It's very important, but not as important of knowing what's going on today, because today is where we're at.
I completely agree. I agree. Um,
Can I
I'm
just
gonna
come in,
ask. I'm
Amanda?
gonna.
Just
Yes,
really
Amanda.
quickly. We're in England and we know what sort of systems they have in place. We know that they've got systems in to make sure that they always come out on top. We know this. But because we know this, we don't do anything about it. So I don't even look at them as the problem in our communities. We are the problem. We saw the problem and we whipped our children straight out of school. We homeschooled them because what I found is we've got a lot of parents who say, yeah, our children go to school, they're not being taught their history. And I debrief them when they come home. Don't debrief your children. These are women that are not working. They've got the time to invest in their children, which is the best commodity we could have. That we are investing in our future.
Why would you send
And so
your child somewhere where you have to debrief them when they get home? What sense does that make to anyone?
Yeah.
And then blame the people for not teaching the history.
So
if you know your child's not getting educated properly, it's your child. Deal with it. Do something about it. Either move them out of the area to a better school that is teaching history, which, as you know, in England and countries like that, is very, very hard to find. Yeah. Or take your time out and do your history and teach your child properly. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly say,
putting the problem onto
John.
someone else. Yeah.
John, I can see Julie had her hand up, and I just want to quickly get her. I think there's something that
All
you
right,
said
Julie,
she wants to.
I just wanted to hear.
Sorry?
Can you put that back up?
I just wanted to hear Amanda's point. I don't think she finished it before her husband jumped in. I just want to hear the end of it, if that's all right.
So it was basically what I was saying was what he was saying. I mean, we saw it in America when the slaves were freed and so-called freed, and they built up Black Wall Street. Segregation was in place and they were thriving. Black people were thriving to the point where we were doing better than the white communities in America, and they came with this big elaborate plan to pull down what we had created. Now, when they did do this integration thing, that's when we started to see us falling. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't integrate. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is we need to take control of our own futures, our own economy, our own schools, take care of our children. We're handing our children to these people, to these institutes. How many hours a week? They're spending most of their time in these institutions and being programmed. They're coming home, parents are tired, you've been at work all day, you don't have time to debrief everything, and they won't remember everything to tell you for you to be able to debrief. So things will slip through the gaps. So we're giving our children away to people that we know do not have our best interests at heart. We need to start taking that responsibility back on and homeschooling more. Or you've taken them to Saturday schools. You've got somewhere called Weiler, Westside Young Leaders Academy, things like that, where they teach them their history on a Saturday. They teach them how to be, public speakers, do all these things. We need to start getting more into that side of things again.
Nice one. Thank you for that, Amanda. Can I just quickly go to Facebook for a minute? Because Colette Morris is saying, agreed, we need to know the value of what our countries hold. And And also she says, Africa, Caribbean are full of natural resources that is being undersold by the governments there.
Yeah.
Now, I
That's-
just want to ask Colette, do you want to quickly jump on and make your point? Because I can send you the link for Zoom. Just let me know, yes or no. All right, darling? Judy, did you have anything to say in regards to what Amanda was saying?
I totally agree with her, and I hear the passion and where she's coming from. Oh, sorry, we're getting a bit of an echo there. And the Saturday schools, that was another point I was saying, as well as Black Heroes and other institutions. Saturday schools, when I was growing up, was the only other place where people of color, Black people, whatever, could go and learn about their history. I do believe, I know John is quite passionate, is what do you want to know about your history for? You need to know about now. I think
No, I wasn't quite saying that. I think because if you ask me about history, trust me, that's what I was saying to Robin. Sorry, Julie. As I said to Robin, I went back.
John, just one
Sorry, go
second.
ahead.
You're going to need to let Judy finish her point, and
Sorry,
then you
Judy,
can
go
come
ahead.
back on it.
Sorry.
hold on, baby. I'm not finished. And I'm actually kind of, I'm agreeing with you, and I'm not against anything that you're saying. It's quite admirable. I think from the gist of it, from your intro, it sounds like you homeschool your children.
Yeah.
Okay, so good on you for doing that, and for, I guess, for
having the ability to do that.
Because
not all parents can do
exactly,
that.
and
Not all parents are that way inclined. Not all.
Well, are you John now?
No, but there's so many parents. Sorry to cut in, but just as they say, just like with the COVID thing, why we're getting it is because we work the longest hours.
Yeah, but that's the point. That's the point I'm making.
Build that into your children when you come home and you're dead doggone tired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to put into it, but a lot of parents are working not 9 to 5, they're doing a 12 or 13, 14 hour stint. So then between that, your children sometimes are actually learning faster than what the parents did learn. So for your parents to then try and teach your children Black history, why they didn't know it, it's because they never had time to know it. And not being funny, you're talking of the first generation, second generation come over here. Not everybody was of a level of education that they can instill it to their children. Yes, we have the ability to learn, but again, they had to go out there and work.
Sorry, Herbie. Can I just quickly ask you to introduce yourself, because you've come in a little bit late, darling.
And you've got to let me come back on that, Samantha.
I am gonna, but I just want Herbie to introduce himself first, quickly.
All right.
I'm Herbie, Julie's partner. I work in the University Imperial College, quite top 10. So I see a lot of things. I don't even see that many Black people are there either, and that's worrying for me. So I'm of the higher education route. So I see that I've been through college, got degree in engineering. So I've done it, but that's because it was my passion. It was my passion. But what my parents instilled in me, which was wrong, was go and work hard. Work hard don't get you nowhere. It just makes you sweat hard. Just makes you sweat more.
I have to come back at you. I have to come back at you with that.
Work clever is what they should.
Yeah, but here's what I'll say. I have to come back at you like this, yeah? When I was growing up, there was lots of parents at home. As we said, Black people ain't getting the jobs. So instead of now, they're sitting in the house, homeschooling their child, they're outside the damn bookie shop. I've seen it. Do you know what I mean? Outside the bookie shop. So I'm not saying everyone can do this. I'm not, sorry, I'll just finish. I'm not saying everyone can do this. I quite agree with you. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. But enough of us can. Do you know what I'm saying? Enough of us can. And the ones who can didn't. And they won't. They, like I said, I hear stories about Jesus and how I'm going to live happy when I go to heaven before I hear about basic economics, basic stuff that you can use now to make history. You know?
Okay. Right. Okay. Right. 1 second. I just want to quickly ask Robin, why do you think, Robin, that parents maybe didn't choose to homeschool, or, and then I'm going to ask that same question to Ruth, Lindsay and Claudette.
I think the biggest reasons that parents don't homeschool is they don't have the skills or the knowledge to homeschool. To be able to homeschool, you would have to have some kind of facility in teaching English, in teaching maths, in teaching the sciences, in teaching the arts. In other words, you're going to have quite a big knowledge base. And if you want to teach the Black equivalents, say African art, if you wanted to teach Black literature, if you wanted to teach African history, there's a lot of information that you would need to know. And most people don't have that educational background. So I think that's the reason why most people don't homeschool.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask the same thing to you, Ruth. You'll need to unmute yourself.
I couldn't unmute myself before, but I agree with Robin. The thing is, certainly from my parents, from the first generation that came over here, a lot of them did not have that education. Even the ones that did, when they came here, they couldn't get jobs in their professions.
That's right.
So they did the jobs that they could get, and quite a lot of parents. So I in that respect, I disagree with John. There weren't people sitting around then, because they worked, and they worked 2-3 jobs, sometimes 4. And then of course at that time, before there was contraceptives popular, out there, people had lots of children, and they had to feed them. And so you're saying that people chose not to understand that might be true of some people today. And even there were some people then, but the majority, and that's the point, the majority were not on standing up, doing nothing. And again, I agree with Robin when he said that a lot of people do not have the knowledge to do this. And I mean, it's fair enough to say that you put your child into school. The thing is, if you don't have the wherewithal and the knowledge to teach your children even basic things, how in heaven would you take on that job? I mean, a lot of people can barely read or write themselves. So it's absolutely crazy. I mean, I personally think that homeschooling is admirable. Anybody that is able to do that. But for the majority of people, it's just not a possibility. And I don't think that people should be beaten with a stick for doing the best for their children, even if they weren't able to homeschool. I mean, the thing is that what you do know, and there's things that you can teach your child when they do come home and when you're at home, but that's not formal education. And
Can I just ask something? And John and Amanda, I'm going to ask you soon to basically say how you went about it, because it is admirable what you both done. And I've met your children, and my God, your children you guys really did do something right. That's all I can say. Now, what I want to say is, if people did choose to homeschool their children, the part of it that I wonder how they go about is, how do they then teach them social skills and things like that to mingle with lots of different people? Don't worry, John and Amanda, I am going to come to you, but not right now. I'm going to throw that question and the same question before to Lindsay.
We're not academics. We're artistic people. She's a singer-songwriter. I'm an author. I don't even know white history, let alone black history.
Jewish history.
or even Jewish history. I read a lot of books when I was growing up because I loved literature, I loved fiction, I loved poetry, I loved theatre. So I've read everything I could get my hands on. I read everything I was taught at school, and then I read James Baldwin, and I read Toni Morrison, and I read Maya Angelou, and I read Terry McMillan, and I read Ntozake Shange. I read everything I could because that was my passion. My kids, that's not their passion. They had other ambitions. My daughter, from a previous relationship, her mum is from Dominica, and she absolutely loves being Dominican. She was born in East London, but she feels Dominican. She loves being Dominican. She goes to Dominica as often as she can. She absolutely adores it. She definitely doesn't feel British, and I think she'll probably end up living there. So she didn't get a kind of academic education from me. She's kind of got a worldly education from going back and visiting Dominica as often as she can. And she's immensely proud of where her parents and her grandparents came from.
And the kind of history that we taught our son and our nieces that we adopted when my sister passed, it's all about family history, and because I believe that kids need to know where they're coming from. To touch on the homeschooling, I was trained to teach. I was in a college, they teaching, and they taught me to teach. And it gives, and when you're taught to teach, you learn skills to be able to pass on information to other people. Most people don't have that. Most people are not taught to teach. So and as Robin said and Ruth said, a lot of people don't have the knowledge. They might want to do it. I personally think there's nothing worse than someone then embarking on homeschooling and they don't have the knowledge to do it, and they're teaching their kids things that aren't right. So a majority of the people physically can't do it. And I agree with Ruth that most first generation Blacks were struggling to just feed their families, and exhausted when they got home. And okay. I was blessed that my mom was the equivalent of a TA when she was a student back home. So she did teach my sister and I, and we were blessed to have that. But I was super aware at school that a lot of kids did not have that because their parents were simply tired from coming in from whatever job they just managed to get to keep a roof over their heads and food on their table.
Okay, thank you very much, Claudette. Okay, we have literally got about just under half an hour left, and I want to quickly ask you, John and Amanda, before I move on to the next thing, how you actually went about homeschooling your very, very bright children. Very bright.
I need to come back on a couple of those points, though.
It needs to. You've literally got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. No, okay. Number one, yeah. I know the parents that you saying to come home that's too tired. A lot of them were going to 7-day Adventist church in the evening. 7 days event, dragging their whole family to church 7 days a week. If not, what happened to the Saturdays? What happened to the Sundays? Back to church again. These are the kind of things they had time for when they didn't have time. I ain't saying that you don't let your child go to school, but when they come home, you can still got a couple of hours in the day or even an hour in a day to teach them a subject and then let them carry on with it. Say, right, learn this and come back to check on that. You don't have to do it systematically. Look, we're making too much excuses here. And that's the reason why we're in this problem in the first place. Way too much excuses. The way we done it, Samantha, for coming to the point here now, yeah, it's basically, look, now we're in the age of online information. You could, if I go to school, you got one maths teacher, let's say, they would teach a particular subject. If I go online, I can find 1,000 maths teachers. If my child doesn't like one maths teacher, he can switch to another one. It's as simple as that. These are people online with PhDs and all sorts, teaching mathematics from primary school right up to A levels, PhD level, and so forth. It's all right there. But what do we use to YouTube instead? yeah, to find out what Jesus is doing, to find out what church is going on, to find out how much people got killed last week, and nothing else. We got to use our time wisely. It's time management. I'm not saying don't send your child to school, don't debrief them when they get home. But if you know physically, oh, I'm not qualified to teach, well, neither are the people you're sending to the schools. They ain't qualified either because you're complaining about them. So what difference is it if you do it or they do it? At least when you teach your child, you're teaching it with love. These guys are just doing it for money and giving misinformation as well. So that's the way I see it. So a lot of our homeschooling was done online. That's all you need. It's not a difficult thing.
But what we also done, what I think what a lot of schools don't actually do is they don't find out what your specific child wants or is aiming at or anything like that. So we had the time to do that. So we gave our children the choices. What do you want to learn?
We made
because as we know, our Black children are failing in these schools, and we seem to think the only way you can give your child an education is if you let them follow the curriculum that is failing them. We scrap that totally.
Whoever wants to spend another 400 years making sure that their schools are going to teach us our history, good luck to you, because I ain't waiting.
So our children, we gave them the opportunity to decide what it is that they want to learn. So our daughter was into reading animes, and because she got fed up with reading the subtitles and watching it and missing half of the action, she decided to learn Japanese. She taught herself to read, write, and speak Japanese within 6 months, and she's pretty
That's
fluent.
excellent. Guys, your 2 minutes, your 2 minutes, your 2 minutes is up.
No, but one last thing.
So basically, I'm just going to quickly ask you guys this question very quickly because I'm sorry, John. Sorry, Amanda. I've got to move on. I need to ask you this question. It's something that it dawned on me, and it was something that Ruth brought up in the last discussion that we had, which I totally agree with. And at the same time, I also agree with what HRH Mel was saying at the time. However, it was about dividing and basically for the 400 years that we were enslaved, it's now in our DNA. Okay. And I completely believe that. It makes absolute scientific sense to me. But at the same time, it also dawned on me, and I think I was speaking to Claudette about it earlier on today. It didn't dawn on me till about 2 days ago, believe it or not, that it is actually also in white people's DNA to feel that they are supreme and to think big and that the world is their oyster and nothing can stop them. And things like that. Whereas we have other things in our DNA, such as we may not feel like we are much, we may not feel like we can progress, blah, blah, blah. I can see John. I know you so well. I can see John. Look, I can see it. But I'm going to give you all a chance to speak. That dawned on me, okay? It's just John and Amanda, I've given you so much time. I need to give other people a chance as well. And I'm going to go to, first of all, Kareem, and then to Robin. And then I'm going to come back to you, I think, Julie, then Ruthie, and then John. Okay? If that's okay, if you can remember your order. So I'm coming to you, Kareem, if you can unmute yourself. Thanks.
Yeah, I've done that. I just want to go back and defend a little bit the value of history, I think. And
okay.
John said something. John made some good points, but I think I'm sure Robin doesn't teach history, and neither do I, just to parade some pharaohs in front of people and say, look what we were. If imagery wasn't powerful, then all of these Western nations wouldn't spend millions of billions of pounds turning black people into white. You see, Malcolm X said to his teacher, I want to be a lawyer. And his teacher turned to him and said, don't be stupid, black people aren't lawyers. But if Malcolm X had an example of Alan Boyle and Macon, he would have known, and he could have said to the teacher, yes, they do. What about Alan Boyle and Macon? He's a lawyer, to hell with what you're saying. So they need examples, and we're visual learners, and all of us are. Everyone has different learning styles, but visuals are powerful. And so history provides examples and raises aspirations. And I think that's the reason why I teach, not just to parade, great people that were great from the past. Nothing to do with that at all. but to provide examples for people, and to, raise their aspirations and raise their self-esteem and raise their confidence, and then so they can believe they can. So that's what I really wanted to say. I wanted to come back on those points here. And, yeah.
Okay, and what's your thoughts on the fact that I was just saying it's whatever is written in our DNA is written in our DNA, but there's also stuff written in white people's DNA also.
Yeah, of course, white supremacy exists. We know it exists, and Professor Roy Joy DeGruy talks about post-traumatic slave disorder.
Kareem, your Wi-Fi is going. It's a bit funny, Kareem. Your Wi-Fi. Yeah, your Wi-Fi.
Can you hear me now?
I don't know if I'm. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. I was saying Joy DeGruy, Professor Joy DeGruy talks about post-traumatic slave disorder syndrome, which is inherited trauma. So yeah, definitely. And of course, white people do have this privilege in which they believe that they can do anything and be anything. And that does exist, of course. So there are two opposite ends of the spectrum. We know they exist, but we don't have to accept that. But at the same time, it's hard to, if someone, Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed 1,000 more slaves if they knew they were slaves. So if you're in that condition, you can't suddenly burst out of it without knowing that you're in that condition, So, it's easy for people to say, like, yeah, I did this, I did that. Great, and we salute you. But example, don't have I'm all right, Jack type of attitude, I think, and that's where we need to, I think, develop that argument.
Okay. Can I quickly go to Robin? We've literally been really running out of time. I can't believe time goes so quickly. Let's go to Robin.
I don't know if trauma is passed down through the DNA, the way some scholars say passed down. I really don't know. So on this one, I prefer to shut up and listen to people that know. And, if they say that's how it works, that's how it works. But there's no doubt that being in a powerful position, having access to more knowledge, you see, wealthy people know more than poor people because they've got access to more knowledge than poor people. They've got access to more resources than poor people. And one of the reasons why people at the top do this is because, once you've got access to the history, you've got to remember all knowledge that isn't happening now is history. And it doesn't matter where that knowledge is. If it's sociology, it's still history. If it's business, it's still history. History is anything that didn't happen now. And then there's that store of knowledge. And so why history is powerful is if you control that, you control all knowledge. And if you've been removed from that, which is the way Black history has been presented, we've been removed from that, we've been removed from all knowledge. And that's why Black people have inferiority complexes, you see. But as far as whether or not it's passed down genetically through generations, I don't know, so I'll sit that one out and listen to what other people have to say.
That's a very fair answer. Thank you very much, Robin. I believe I said I was going to go to Julie and Herbie here. You need to unmute.
Right. I don't believe it's passed down. That's a load of poop. If I say so myself, it's my older children. I always push them. I used to open up the papers to my son and show him different categories of jobs, different pay scales. And I told him, if you want to just have a basic job there, it's a basic education, you won't get nowhere. If you want to get some way further or a lot higher, you have to achieve a certain grade and push on yourself. You can work for yourself or you can work for somebody doing what you like. Now, if you instill the thought of achievement in your child and don't show them no negativity, they can only strive for the best. So I don't like British TV at the moment. I watch a lot of BE TV at the moment because it shows positive Black people in positive roles. Watching national TV, BBC, Channel 4, any one of them, it doesn't show Black people in a good light. It shows them in EastEnders, they can't run a business, they need help. And it shows you a person who's in crime. It doesn't show positive Black people on TV. So why should you let your children watch that? Of course, they're going to start having a negative attitude. Of course, they're not going to strive for the biggest house or the biggest job up there if they don't see themselves on the media. That's for parents to show the children the world is their oyster. Yeah, there are loads of negativities out there, but you've got to keep pushing forward. And if I push my child to strive for the best, they push their child to strive for the best, you will finally get there. Instead of holding on to this thing that is in your DNA. It's not in your DNA unless you put it there. I'm sorry to say. Julie?
Okay, so whether it's in your DNA or not in your DNA, the other thing I wanted to say, which Ruth was trying to say the last time, is that once we know it's there, then we should be able to do something about it. Meaning it shouldn't really hold us back.
I think the only thing, right, sorry, Sam, is if you have you're blinkered to it and you keep going for it and then you experience racism, that's when it's hurtful, when you first experience it. So what parents try and do is they try and mollycoddle and say, right, this could happen. And that's where that negativity comes. It will come because it's out there. Yeah, it's very COVID now, but that's the only disadvantage I say your children will have, is having that positive thought until it's bang, it's hit them straight in the face. Yeah, some recognize it, some don't recognize it. It takes a while before they recognize it to say, hang on a minute now, how come I didn't get that promotion? How come I'm finding it hard to get a business loan? How come? Because back in the day, they didn't give you loans. Yeah, no matter what business idea you had, no matter how, they did not give you loans. Yeah, but again, I said in one of our last conversations, cooperative, people getting together, investing together. Yeah, and then building yourselves up.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go and ask Julie now, because unless Julie, did Herbie say it all for you?
Succinct, yes, what he said, and I'm conscious that you've only got
15 minutes left. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do for the both of us.
Thank you, Jules. Okay, Lindsay.
White supremacists. these toothless Neanderthals who can barely string a sentence together. Which part of them is supreme? That's what I would like to know. I mean, what a bunch of deluded fools. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
What do you think it's in the DNA?
Is it in their DNA? It's passed down from generation to generation. You know, you teach racism to your child. It's not, you know, you're not born a racist. You teach it to your child, and these fools just pass it down from generation to generation. Is it in my DNA? No, it's not in my DNA. I'm half Jewish, so we're full of insecurities. You know, do I feel superior to my wife? No, I'm blessed to be in her orbit. So, you know, it's DNA. Not sure.
Okay, and Claudette. Make it quick. Make it real quick.
Yep, I understand where that hypothesis could be coming from, but I agree with Lindsay, and I agree that everything is taught. What, you know, I just feel is racism is taught. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that a baby could just, you know, come out, a baby left unnurtured. If you, because this is what you're saying, that if a baby was born and no one taught it to be a racist and no one taught it to feel superior, then that baby would be become superior and you know, have that kind of mentality. And I kind of think it's, no, I agree with my husband. I think it's all taught, to be honest with you.
All right. Do you know
Sam, just quickly, very quickly. There's somebody here on YouTube, a guy called Jerry Rawlings.
Okay.
Who says you are the next Crystal Rose.
Oh, bless him. Thank you very much, Jerry Rawlings. Okay, can I just quickly go to Kareem? Kareem, please make this really quick because I can see you shaking your head.
No. I was just wondering, no one inherits racism. No, I don't think I was ever saying that. So that was directed at me. You know, of course it's taught. Most things are taught. You know.
Okay.
There's no disagreement there. So
All
yeah,
right. Okay.
that's what I was saying.
Ruth, sorry. I'm going to come to you. Please
No,
be
it's
quick,
fine.
darling.
You call me.
I know, I can't help it.
No,
That's your
you
pet
can
name.
call me. You can call me Ruti. I call myself Ruti. Yeah. I think I don't know. What I would say is that a child in someone's stomach pulls in loads of things. A child
Yes.
learns things before it's born. So whether we can say that it doesn't learn things before it's born or not, it's how far you go back to saying if something is taught or in the DNA. Is if a child in a womb is a living being but is not born yet. So they have that question, nature nurture, and if there is that, there's always been that question. I mean, I believe there's some things in me that are passed down. I believe I have a spirit, and that's not to do with religion, John. So don't jump out at me. I'm saying I believe that I have a spirit, and I have links, and I feel things, and I hear things, and I have things that I don't know how I know it. So that doesn't mean that I haven't been taught it. But who taught me, that's something else. So
very good point.
What I would say is that a lot of things are taught, but they might be taught from birth. Whenever you come into contact with anybody else or with any systems, and saying that the point that Lindsay was making about people being supreme, it's very difficult for people to be supreme without a system to make them supreme. And once all the systems are in place, then that's a difference. And when there's things in place to keep people up high and people down low, then it's hard to navigate that. Once you do know that there is that system in place, then you can begin to navigate.
Thank you, Ruthie. Thank you. Well said. We've got literally 9 minutes left, guys. The time has flown so quickly. I just want to say I'm going to have to put on my finest Jamaican accent now, because Mr. Kevin Leo said, "Some picnic just evil." Translation: some children are just evil. Kevin Leo just said some children are just evil. Okay, I don't know if I agree with that, but that's his take on it. Heather, I want to say hello to you. I want to say hello, Harriet. Hi, Harriet, all the way from Holland. I want to say hello to Shireen. Hi, Kaz. Hi, Lisa, all the way from Trinidad. Listen, hi, Sharon Thomas Owen. There's quite a few people on here. Hi, Lorraine. Hi, hi, Cara. How are you? Hi, Rona. And hi, Jacqueline, Brian. Listen, I just want to quickly bring something in here. And because you said it, Kevin, so I had to say so. He's saying, why did I say that? John and Amanda, I really am coming back to you. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. Just hold on to what it is that you want to say. I just want to throw something in the mix here. Was America discovered by Columbus? Who wants to take that on?
Well, you can't discover something where somebody is already.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. How can you discover something when there's already somebody there or people there? So no. But perhaps it's a question for the historians.
Yeah, I would have said so. Which one wants to take it, Kareem or Robin? I'm gonna ask Robin, because I've not heard much from Robin at the moment, so I'm gonna ask Robin.
The very first person that went to the Americas where their skeleton's been found is about 14,000 years old, and it's of a black woman. And the black woman's the archaeologists have reconstructed the woman, and they call her Luzia, Luzia, and she was a Brazilian, and they think that she got there from Aboriginal Australia. So if anyone wants to claim to have discovered America, it would be her. And then, of course, you've got a whole bunch of voyages from outside the Americas to America, not just Columbus, but there were African voyages as well. You know, so we know of at least 3 African voyages from Africa to the Americas before Columbus. There was a guy called Mansa Abubakari II who sailed from Mali to America. He landed in Panama. Some people think he landed there in 1311. There was a Moor called Kashkash ibn Selim ibn Aswad who left from Spain and sailed to the Americas in the 10th century. And then there's speculation that the ancient Egyptians made the voyage during the time of Ramses III. So we know of at least 3 of these voyages.
Brilliant, excellent. Okay, I'm now going to. Okay, Robin. I'm aware that you have to leave 9:30. Absolutely, you have something else to do. There are 2 things that I want to play before we leave, but I do want to go back to John and Amanda. Otherwise, you may never see me again. Okay. I want to let them have their say. They know where I live. Okay. So, Robin, if in the middle of this you need to leave, we understand. Everyone's going to say bye-bye to you from now. We will not run over more than by 10 minutes, I promise. Okay? Bear with me.
If that's the case,
Here we
I
go.
can stay.
Okay, thank you. All right, John and Amanda, fire away. You have to unmute yourselves, though.
Yeah, first of all, Ruti, I didn't realize it was you. I know you from years ago. I love you.
Yeah,
sis.
from upstairs where I live.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah, I just realized. But anyway, I'll talk fast. I know time's limited. Yeah. First of all, someone was texting saying I must have had a bad experience with the church. Yeah, I sure have. I think the whole thing put us in slavery in the first place. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I can tell you one thing. Yeah. Black people, everybody thinks they're superior to each other. Trust me, I've met some black people who talk about white people like they're trash. And I met white people who talk about black people like they're trash. It goes both ways. It's just that we haven't got the money to back it up. That's the only difference. Yeah. We just need the cash to back it up. And then before you know it, who has the economic cash? That's the one that's most superior. That's the way the world works at the moment. Yeah. There was another thing I wrote down. What was it? Yeah, as for history, people are talking about, I'm not talking about you don't learn your history. I can tell you history that goes way back. Yeah, I try to tell black people that back in the day, we had cars, we had helicopters, we had planes, we had boats, we had submarines, we had electricity right back before Egypt. No one doesn't want to hear that. Everybody else wants to hear that the Europeans invented it first. So the black people are even listening to their own history when people are trying to tell them. I can show you carvings in the wall of our helicopters and planes that we had doing open heart surgery. Yeah, all them kind of things. So trust me, I know my history. But what I'm trying to say, that empowered me to know that I have to be making history today. Jesus and Abraham didn't become Jesus and Abraham because they sat down learning history. It's because of what they were doing at the time when they were alive. What are we doing? We're just sitting back, always looking back too long back. Too long. You can pause, look back to make it empower. You know where you're coming from. But then you must know when to put it down, man, and deal with what's going on with today. Because that's the reason why there's people homeless in America by the millions, because we don't know how to economically make them viable. Do you know what I mean? No history you tell them about that is going to make them economically viable at this stage. Know your history, yes, but please know your MPs, know a lot about business, know how property works, know how all the things that we need, know how it works. Lastly, I would say we are selling our stuff too cheap. If you think that England produced the metal that runs all the mobile phones in the world, they will sell it at the rate we're selling it at, you're crazy. There was a time when people come here and you go to Africa, and all you can pick up is white dollies. Could you imagine coming to England and the only dollies you can buy is black dollies? These are the stupid things that's happening to us, and we accept it.
John, 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, I just want to say goodbye to Kareem. Everyone say bye-bye to Kareem. He's got to go now. Okay.
Bye, Kareem. I'll be last.
Bye, Kareem. Okay. All right, John.
I'll be quick on the very, very, very last point. Yeah. I will say this. Yeah. Please don't look at what I'm saying as don't know your history. Yeah. But please understand the future is more important than the history. Ain't saying they ain't both important. But I'm telling you which one takes priority. We're supposed to be teaching our children business skills right now and how to immigrate or repatriate back to our land. Because when something happens in the West, there's no African leaders speaking up for us. But when an American or English person goes abroad and something happens to them, you have the British consulate, you have all kind of people going over there saying we want our person back. Who's fighting for us? We have to know, we have to build the economic structure in Africa. And the only people that can do it is the diaspora. That's my point. Sorry, I don't know if you want to say something.
No. I'm really happy that you got to say what you wanted to say, and well said. I just want to quickly play something here that I was trying to play earlier on because I feel that this was actually pretty much accurate what I found on YouTube. So let me go ahead and play this. So I thought it was playing now, and it's obviously not. 1 second. Oh dear. Bear with me, please. Sorry. Sound is off. Okay, let's put the sound on.
And some that practice.
So apparently this is who the Moors were. I don't know why it keeps on turning to... Bear with me, please. Sorry, guys.
Sam, if anything, you can send us the link where it is so that people can then go.
I will try to do that, but it really should be playing. I don't know why this keeps happening to me. Okay, well, I'm going to play this one then to play us out, and hopefully this will play.
Everyone in the world has gone to bed one night or another with fear or pain or loss or disappointment. And yet each of us has awakened, arisen, somehow made our ablution, seen other human beings, and said, "Morning, how are you? Fine, thanks, and you?" It's amazing. Wherever that abides in the human being, there is the nobleness of the human spirit. Despite it all, black and white, Asian, Spanish, Native American, pretty, plain, thin, fat, vowed or celibate, we rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom just 'cause I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like suns and like moons, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just 'cause I laugh. As if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I'll rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh, does it come as a surprise that I dance? As if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs. Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, naturally, there I go rising.
Okay, guys, I just wanted to play that because I just wanted to remind us all that no matter what happens in our lives or to us, or, you know, the truth of the matter is I feel that we can always turn it around, and that is the most important thing. Just because you might be down today, it doesn't mean you have to get up tomorrow and still be down. You can actually make a difference. You can always make a difference. You can always change a situation, as far as I'm concerned. At the end of the day, yes, Black people were enslaved, and we are still going through systemic racism. Um, but guys, and I'm talking to everybody, not just who's here on the panel, we still can rise. Okay? We still can rise. Now, can I just quickly say, to summarize it all, and I'm actually going to ask Robin to summarize this properly before we all go. But from what I've learned about the Moors, what I've learned here today is I'm getting so many messages from everyone trying to have their say. I will try and read those out a little bit later very quickly, but my understanding is that the Moors brought about civilization. They brought about cars and aeroplanes. They brought about, in fact, my understanding is that in the ages, it was actually a crime to wash your skin. And the Moors brought about soap. They made soap and told people how to wash themselves and stuff and things like that. And I've got to say, if we didn't do some kind of research into our history, we wouldn't know these things, and they really are important. I'm not having a go, John. Don't think I am. I'm just literally saying, to summarize, that these things are important to know. At the end of the day, we were treated like we were animals, but to know that we were the ones that brought about civilization, that's something. But here we go. Robin, I'm going to ask you to summarize this for us before we actually depart, if you don't mind.
Yeah, very simply. If people want to see some of that Moorish heritage, it's not just all Moorish, some of it's Arabic as well. In Spain, the southern part of Spain, there are the ruins that have been really, really well preserved in places like Cordova, Seville, Granada, Jaén. Jaén is the one that has got the baths. The baths have still been preserved. The architecture is exquisite. The palaces, the mosques have now become churches, because now that since Africans lost power, what used to be a mosque during our period has now become a church during the Spanish period. The castles are still there. Any one of those sites, you can spend a whole day photographing those sites and not run out of details to photograph. So if you ever get the opportunity, visit Spain, take a look at those cities, and take a look at some of the monuments that are there.
Okay. Can I just quickly say, Robin, that you're getting quite a bit of feedback here. Kevin Leo is saying that you are, sorry, 1 second, let me not get this wrong. He is saying that you are very informative and he has enjoyed your contributions. I am also, and he's saying thank you. I'm also getting, I think, Evie, you've got Robin's name wrong. His name is Robin, but Evie is saying, wow, I like that guy. He knows his stuff. And we have got on Facebook, very quickly before we go, we've got Rona Faye Stacy, who was saying other people were there already in regards to Columbus. So she's basically saying you can't discover something that was already discovered, like we were saying. There's so many different people that are just coming on now, but guys, we are literally finishing now. Robin, thank you very much for summarizing. Ruth, John, Amanda, Robin, Lindsay, Claudette, Julie, Herbie, and also Kareem. Thank you so much for making this show possible. Love you all. Thank you so much. I feel it's been informative. It's been an education for me, at least, and hopefully for other people. And we will be doing it again at some point. And I hope you'll all come back and join me. Sorry for whoever I've muted or cut off or anything like that. But it's a matter of watching time. And I think this is the first one that I've managed to only run over by 10 minutes and not a whole hour and 45 minutes. So thank you very much, guys. And it's a goodbye and a good night from me. Bye. Everyone say bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm going to leave us with this. It's all the businesses that I am promoting at the moment, just rolling on and advertising so that you can see who, you know, you might want to use some people. I'm sorry, the one that says exodus.com should say Exodus what, John? Exodus.homes. Okay, my apologies. I will change that for next week. But here is a screen for everybody. I'm going to leave that running. But all of the panel, if you want to leave now, feel free. Thank you very much.
See you later, Ruthie.
Bye-bye.
Richard.
John.
How's Richard?
He's on John.
Oh, she's muted.